microphone's a million miles away. Who among us is not dealing with seasonal allergies?
I'm not surprised.
I have COVID.
It's not allergies, it's COVID.
I mean, probably not. But that whole like wake up in the morning, like cough half a lung out.
You want to go ahead and get the wax ready now?
Dude, this is some wax.
Isn't that a Kesha song? Wake up in the morning. Is it allergies or COVID?
Here we are.
Hey, everybody.
Oh, wait. Do you want to do a can
I
open?
forgot about that, yeah.
In my old Kentucky home. Kentucky.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Kentucky Commons Radio Hour. I am Michael Moeller, joined tonight by David Satterley and John Ronayne at Brewgrass Homebrew Supply here in Louisville, Kentucky. Back again. Feel like we haven't had a podcast together, let alone alone together in a while. So it's good to kind of have this throwback episode, guys.
I got to feel like I was hanging out with you all because I'm in editing all of the Charlotte, North Carolina podcasts. So we've teased the first one of those already. No, we've published the first one of those, which is really just a tease to all of your all's adventures in Charlotte that we still have to share with the listeners.
I just appreciate being alone with you guys.
Yeah, okay. Well, I was trying to avoid that creepy comment.
Yeah.
Just move on.
But I mean, we had 4 great podcasts out there. One has been published already. The 3 will come when they come. But also, guys, I mean, we have other podcasts coming in from Austin, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Those are kind of in the works, so that's going to happen in the future. So it's good to get out there, kind of spread the message about Kentucky Common and see what other people are doing with barrels around the country, things that we can be doing here in Louisville as well. And if you want to see some of the footage from those trips of ours, we brought the camera with us, and you can see that on our Patreon, patreon.com/kycommons. But if you don't want to spend $3 a month, that's fine. You can do something for free, though, and it's going to help us a lot. And that's just give us a 5-star review on any podcast platform that you listen to.
I was going to say make a voodoo doll of our podcast and put it in a #1 chart position on your wall. That would also be free. It would be a time investment, but anyway.
So you have like a chart on the wall where you just like rank people?
#1 podcast and make a little voodoo doll about Louisville beer and just put it in #1. It's spooky season.
Is this what people do for like the Leo Weekly Awards?
Yeah. Also, yeah, that's already closed, I think. We could shout ourselves out for that, but
yeah, that's done.
Right.
But yeah, so we have some options where you can give us some love if you want, because we have some fun on this podcast. And when it's just going to be us 3, it gets a little goofy sometimes, but we're going to embrace that. But before we get too goofy, let's start off with a kind of serious beer, because David, you have a serious beer over there. What do we got?
I think it's serious because there's wax on it, but it's probably a little lighthearted. We did snag a couple of beers.
yeah, not made by Bell's.
It is made by Bell's. Not this beer. Like Michael mentioned on our travels, we did explore a couple of breweries. So from Charlotte, North Carolina, bad at that every time.
South Dakota.
We do have a bottle from Fonta, Flora. It does have some wax on it, but nothing like the Against the Grain wax.
They're heavy-handed with the wax over there at ATG.
This is like a half a crown. It's probably not that much wax. But we did grab what could only be described as a magnificent Appalachian ale.
I'm getting the aroma. It smells really good.
Yeah. So this is Appalachian wild ale aged in gin barrels called Why Cause.
From Fonta, Flora, right?
From Fonta, Flora.
Yeah.
Why Cause is a colloquial saying that means, what the hell are you doing? And why?
Why cause?
Why? But yeah, this is a new addition to their Can I Kick It series. It's a fruit-forward wild ale with some plum jam, luxurious nectarines, aged in old Tom gin barrels for an unbelievable botanical complexity. I will say that we tasted this when we were exiting the brewery and immediately we're like, yeah, we'll have one of those.
Nice.
So I'm excited for you to get to try it, John, because
yeah.
this is a really good beer.
Well, I love Fonta Flora, so excited to hear what this tastes like.
It's funny because I had them. First time I ever had Fonta Flora was like in 2018 or maybe 2019 or something. So it's I was kind of late to the game, but I only had it at a Shelton Brothers Festival event, and I didn't really ever have it since then. However, in the last 2 months, I've managed to go to all 3 locations of theirs.
Nice.
They have their original location in the middle of nowhere, North Carolina. Forgive me. I mean, that's the area. I don't remember the exact place where it's brewed. And then they have their farm, I think, wherever it is. I don't know where that one is. Maybe that's the Nebo one. The farm is the Nebo one. And then they have the Charlotte.
Nebo, yeah.
Yeah. And then they have the Charlotte one, which was kind of like in this awesome like market area with, shops and lots of food.
So I'm kind of glad I read the back of the package. I'm kind of glad I didn't. The label looks very bright and lemony, and that was the first thing I smelled was like a very bright citrusy, lemony, like this is going to sound like it's a negative comment, but like it's almost that kind of light, kind of lemon, like floor cleaner kind of vibe. Like it's acetic, but it's also very bright and citrusy. To me, that's a good thing. But then I see that it's plum. Is that right?
Yeah, they mentioned plums on it as being like plum jam and nectarine. So
I get it more when I taste it, but yeah, I think everything I'm smelling there is just that wild character. So that is fantastic. The drip is dripping here in this shot.
I think what they do really well is just blending and taking those unique flavors and putting them into one
incredibly
culminating beer. So yeah,
Asian gin barrel,
Old Tom gin barrels. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I wouldn't have guessed this was a plum anything just by the color and the taste. So that's pretty neat.
When we went to this location of Fonta, Flora, which, like I said, is like in this kind of like hip market area. This is not like, you know what I mean when I say that like you have a brewery for people that don't go to breweries, or you have like a level 1 brewery kind of brewery. This is like a level 90 brewery. Like this is like the stuff that they release is very kind of exquisite, complex. I mean, like they have some approachable pilsners, but like this is a wild ale for people that like wild ales.
It's like the boss fight, like of craft beer. Like it's up there with like some of the best sours you can get anywhere.
So like the compound that it was on is an old mill. Charlotte's converted many of their old mills into these like vendor halls. This one was Optimist Hall, and then this was kind of on that base floor. But talking to the bartenders a little bit, they're like, yeah. So people come in, they have this great food upstairs, and then they come downstairs and they're like, yeah, let's have a beer. And they're just not necessarily like in tune with how next level this is. But the one beer you had, Michael, the pumpernickel.
Yeah, that was a weird one.
Do you remember the details on that?
Interesting too to me is like, so Fonta Flora is one of these people that has really just successfully leaned into this kind of crazy, not crazy, but just like this, just like you're saying, like this barrel funk development thing. We haven't seen as much of that in Louisville. We've got a few people like, Kentucky wide who are really kind of starting to lean into the, like we had when we had the Lou Today people, we tasted the Turtleback.
Yeah, that was a Brett Saison.
Yeah, they do a lot of funky sour stuff, but you don't see as much of it around town these days.
Yeah. I mean, the level of like potential contamination requires an immense amount of cleaning and being very specific. Fauna Flora launched several years ago with their member program. It was just AWAS, all wild, all sour.
Nice.
So they've really like hung their hat on that, and I think this is an excellent expression of all the good things they're doing.
Yeah, to answer your question earlier, the beer that I had, which was called Night Swim, was a mixed culture kvass style ale brewed with pumpernickel bread and fermented on third-use cherries and aged on Night Swim coffee. So you had pumpernickel coffee, mixed culture, fermentation. Like it was one of the weirdest beers I've ever had.
I don't even know if it's technically a beer. If it was that, because we get a few people coming in here every month. We had what's the country of origin on that? Poland? On the kvass or whatever they call that stuff?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, anyway, I know it's like an Eastern European kind of thing, but they use rye bread or pumpernickel bread usually in place of yeast. So they make like a weak wort, and then you throw a piece of bread in there with other kind of fermentables that you have laying around, and it's like halfway between like kombucha and beer or something. Is that what it tasted like?
Yeah, I mean, it was. Yeah, sure. I think it was kind of weird like that. And then just for another point, the other Fonta, Flora location that I went to, I remember having something called Stein wine, which was this barley wine that was served still and like in just like a rocks glass. It was very odd, but it was just regular barley wine boiled with hot granite rocks.
Okay.
So just throw some rocks into the boil, make it boil the whole wort. And like it was like the things that they do are just so out there.
Well, that's a historical thing too. So like it's a very modern the convenience that we have the ability to like put beer. If you're a home brewer, you can put your pot on your stove and boil it. Even up until like the Renaissance, most people couldn't get their hands on like a giant iron pot to even homebrew in, like we take for granted today. So you would get these like clay jars, or you would dig like an earthen hole and line it with clay, and then to boil it, you just like put rocks in a fire until they're like as hot as the freaking sun, turning it back into magma, and then you drop it in there and you just keep dropping incredibly hot rocks into your wort until it starts to boil, and that's how you would make beer up until like, you know, depending upon the level of industrialization in a society, like in Germany, the early to Middle Ages, I would say. Don't quote me on any of this stuff, but that's the general idea. So it's cool that they're doing that, because that's probably how beer was made and tasted for most of history, and you have to expect that would create some very interesting caramelization effects that you don't get like with a nice, evenly distributed, gentle heating system like we use today.
All I'm gonna say is I'm glad we have technology, because that beer just not for me.
Not for you?
Not for me.
It sounds like a lot of work, honestly. And if I was in the, if I was the brewer in that situation, I just wouldn't want to do it. Sounds like it's a little bit out of my job description.
To heat up rocks.
To heat up rocks and to brew. Like, I don't want to have to like, hey, welcome to your first day of brewing. Hey, heat these rocks up for us. Nah, dude, I'd rather just like clean.
I would probably quit, or like very silently exit out of that position, because I came to brew beer. I'm not here to heat rocks.
So
So
you're-
that's some like mammalian shit from the early like 1400s.
Right. Well, I mean, you're doing the whole quiet quitting thing that people are
Quiet
talking
quitting.
about right now.
Yeah, I tried that. It's not easy for me to quiet quit.
I've
but,
heard a few people around town talk, and a lot of our customers, whatever, work in all different industries. But even in the beer industry, I've heard a few like people just kind of resonating with that idea. I don't know how I feel about it. I have thoughts. How do you guys feel? Is it okay? So first of all, how do you define quiet quitting?
I think it's when you just slowly, like this big goal of like overachieving and being number one employee is kind of fading.
Like hustle culture.
I think the hustle culture is dying a little bit. I think motivation has really come to a head of like, hey, my motivation is money or fulfillment in my job, and like, you kind of lose that luster, and be it like underperformance or just not vibing with.
All right,
what
so
you're
let me
doing
let
anymore,
me
but
just
you-
jump in here to
No.
define the term.
No,
Quiet
You already asked us what we think about it.
Well,
though.
let me tell you what. Here's my understanding of it, and it's a little different than what you're saying.
Okay.
It's like basically you show up to work. Let's say you have a 9 to 5, and let's make a hypothetical job. It's like a rock heater to put the rocks into the kettle to heat up the beer to boil it. So your job description that your like matriarch in your like brewing town gave you is you show up at 6 a.m., you heat up the rocks, you put them in the kettle until it comes to a boil, and after it's been boiling for 3 hours, you're free to go. That's usually around 5 p.m. And you get 30 rations of ale and 6 tuppence per month.
Tuppence.
That's your job description. So if you are the guy who shows up at 5 a.m. and you start like the hustle culture version of that, is this analogy working, or should we move on?
want
If
you
you
to
show up
finish
at
it.
5
I want
a.m.,
you to
you're
finish
heating up all the rocks. You're heating up the other people's rocks because you know that down the line you're going to be making the best beer. And when the overlord of your manor decides that he needs to like replace the head of the brewery that is like moving into retirement and taking a job out on the estate, he's going to pick you because you've been there early every morning. You're the one showing up hustling. You're the one who heats up those rocks the fastest, the most consistent. When there's like a random, like let's say there's a wine merchant who just visits the village, you're out there talking to him at the bar because you're like, hey, we could have some wine on at our tap room, and that would even bring in more people. Like, I'm going to go up above and beyond to make myself stand out in this
And
rock
you're not going to
beer
get
culture.
paid anymore for it.
Then that's the question, right? So then it's like, how does that contract work?
It doesn't.
It doesn't. Yeah.
It's completely one sided, and it benefits the employer. And you hold on to the fact that like, oh well, maybe if I do this, I'll maybe make partner next year. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we've had this culture of like law firms that have gone down for decades to the idea of like the fast food workers. Like, oh, but if I work a little bit more of overtime without getting compensated for overtime, I'm gonna get manager.
They're gonna love me.
And they don't care.
They don't care. And so, okay, so, but some people do. And so it seems like this phenomenon is very dependent upon, like, one of the things I always think about with companies is, like, culture starts at the top. So it's hard for me to speak on this to some extent, or maybe I just have a different perspective because, like, whenever I did work in like companies with bosses and stuff like that, it always just felt like the bosses didn't do anything and just kind of like made the employees all do everything to some extent, which makes you feel resentful and like, yeah, why would you show up early? Why would you stay late? Even though that's the corporate culture they're trying to enforce, they're not doing that.
I don't think that's quiet quitting. I think that's doing the expectations of your job.
That's what I think too. Yeah.
I think quiet quitting is more along the lines of you've lost that luster to do, anything above and beyond your description, and you're just trying to make it by check, and hoping that you do something else. But pro tip, guys, start your own business if you can.
That's the hard part.
It's Office Space.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
no, it's
You're
the
right.
scene where what's his face is talking to John C. McRiley or whatever his name is, and he's like, yeah, I just don't really have the motivation. Like, just if I work harder, some fat cats get paid, and I don't see a dime.
Yeah, that's great. I never made that connection, but you're absolutely right. So, I mean,
that bleeds across multiple industries. Brewing brewing is really a thankless job in all reality. I mean, these guys are doing everything to produce the things that we enjoy the most.
heating up those rocks, man.
Yeah, I'm probably getting paid the least. And from my perspective, tech is no different. I mean, the people on the bottom lines that deal with the customers day in and day out really kind of get the brunt of like how that goes, and everyone else is just like, oh, good, you hit your numbers, that's great, we still have customer satisfaction pretty high, so everyone must be happy.
You know what happens when you hit those numbers or when you exceed those numbers? You've hit a new bare minimum.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like the Michael Scott in the Office thing. Is like you set your budget. If you don't hit your budget, like they take away your money.
Did we already talk about this? Was like 6 months ago, but it was like this tweet that went viral in the brewing space of like how craft brewers don't make enough money to buy the beer that they make.
I think I might remember that. And if anything, that just kind of connects to the Henry Ford idea, is what that would be like a play on. Is like he wanted all of his employees, something he was famous allegedly for saying. And sure, there's enough fucked up shit about Henry Ford to criticize him for, but one of his stated goals, even if he didn't live up to it, was that he wanted each employee to be able to afford a Model A or Model T or whatever the heck their cheap car was. Yeah. So the brewery side of that would be saying, like, I can't afford a $9 pint of Kolsch.
Where are you getting a $9 pint of Kolsch? That sounds like...
I don't know. That's just an out there example.
Antarctica.
Antarctica, right.
No, that sounds like a good deal.
I mean, honestly, yeah, you're right. Okay. So I do sympathize with that, and I do think it's true.
Well, you know what Ford stands for, don't you? Fix again, Tony.
I like it. Okay. I like it.
I thought it was fix or repair daily.
That sounds good too. But Fords are reliable.
That's what they told us.
Oh, that's Fiat. Oh.
But I do agree. I mean, the
Fix it again, Tony. Okay, yeah, I got it.
Yeah, the people that do this.
Y'all don't watch King of the Hill.
It's been a long time. I do love Mike Judge though.
Yeah, damn it, Bobby is about as far as to go. But yeah, these guys are in a thankless position sometimes, and you really can't afford. I mean, I can barely afford this hobby, so
that's why we started a business.
That's a quiet quitting. Start aside this whole, and so that's the whole idea of side hustles too. I'll push back against the quiet quitters since I'm like the evil capitalist amongst us or whatever. I was talking to one person who works in like a manufacturing industry in a supervisory role. And he's like, "Oh, I love quiet quitting. Lets me know who I don't need to promote. Lets me know when promotions come up,
Kevin O'Leary."
Yeah, it was Kevin O'Leary, actually. Yeah, we were having a beer the other day. So I sympathize with that position. Like, you're just kind of putting yourself to not stand out. But I think I'm more sympathetic to the idea that changing corporate culture to be like, do your job and do your job well is much healthier than like try to do all this other shit that's not in your job description that there's no way to like measure your performance on. That's
or get compensated for it. I mean,
well, yeah. So ideally, like if you're like going above and beyond, you would have a performance review every year, and you'd be like, "Hey, this was my job description that you hired me on. These were my duties. This is what I've done in excess of my duties, and this is how I think it's bringing excess revenue into the company. If you would like me to continue doing these things and to expand them, give me this much more money based upon what I've made." But that's not how it works. Like in practice, from everybody I've talked to who works in corporate like systems.
No, and like a slight tangent is the way that we identify people by their jobs and what they do and their value and worth is just immensely just incorrect. Like I remember a little bit, maybe early 2020, people were getting upset about like, oh, well, these burger flippers are now going to make $18 to $21 an hour. Like they're doing a job, you're paying for the product, they're finally getting compensated for the job that they're doing. It has no effect on the job that they were doing. This is just the money that was steeping up to the top of these corporations is now finally having some distribution.
Oh, did it finally?
Well,
I think so.
I think we're
like,
getting there.
But when you start labeling people by their job, it denotes it denotes a value that isn't realistic because they have no control over that.
Meanwhile, there's like a freaking set. You're also mad because there's a 7-car wait outside of your fast food restaurant. So like that's
not staffed because they don't pay them.
Exactly. Yeah. And so you're clearly that work has value.
Yeah.
I always got really mad, especially when I just started doing marketing stuff. Whenever I heard somebody like complain about the social media intern, it's like, oh yeah, okay, you're diminishing the job that much to like only an intern would be doing this. Like, dude, you don't even know that there are salaries devoted to this kind of work.
And in truth, that intern is the only person who probably knows how to do that job because they're the people who are like fresh in that social media space. Like, you couldn't do this. CEO who's like, now I'm being like ageist, but like the old person does not know how to effectively post on like TikTok or like whatever.
How to save as a PDF. Right?
Yeah.
That's the joke.
Yeah, right.
Don't cancel me. But when
Congress.
I was 21, I had a lot to learn. I still do all the time. But I did work directly. I was the only subordinate underneath a director at a large corporation, and I was an intern. So it was director, no associate director, no systems analyst, no nothing. It was just director, intern.
Yeah.
And I got the most workload put on me, period. I was making nothing. And I value the experience. It was totally worth it. But like, goddamn, like, no, you can't do that.
Well,
for
you
people.
didn't last there. I mean, you didn't want to be there that much longer. So
yeah.
Pay your people. If people do work that you want, pay them for it.
Yeah.
Is it my turn to talk about quiet quilting?
Quiet quilting. Now that is a movement I can support.
Yeah, it's like you just sit in a room, you got your squares, you don't really talk to anybody.
Do you get paid to do it though?
I think it's more for the love of the patch.
You put it on your cottagecore like Instagram feed or whatever.
It's your side hustle. Here's the thing. When did hobbies become side hustles?
When people decided they were valuable, and when people that had too much money decided buying quilts was cool.
But like, can't I just so here's like, why can't I just relax on the weekend? Why do I have to have a side hustle at
because you're a quiet
night
quitter
or
quiet
during
quitter.
the weekend? No, I'm just like whatever happened to us. Just like
I know what you mean. Like it's the work. I'll tell you what I think the answer is that nobody can make enough like money doing a 9 to 5 these days. Like some people do, but a lot of people that I know who work in 9 to 5s like they don't actually work in 9 to 5s. They work in fucking like whenever you wake up and check your email to like midnight.
No,
so
you get calls from your boss at 11 p.m.
Yeah,
that sounds weird.
And then like you're still like, well, I wish I had another X amount of money to spend on like going to see a movie this month, which is now like so expensive, or like going out to eat, which is so expensive, or buying groceries, which is so expensive. So I think that probably is a sign that we're moving away from the quote unquote like 9 to 5, work 40 years and get a gold watch and a pension type of society into something new.
There's no pension.
There's no
there's no gold watch either.
No,
Like,
It's just a Casio watch.
Yeah, from Wish.
that's a pat on the back. Say, oh, you're quitting? Ugh.
And you're
Could
also
really use
fired. Like,
Can you wait until like next quarter though to quit?
Yeah.
Because we could really use you right now. You're putting us in a really hard position.
You know who has a good work structure in the international environment.
The Germans.
The Germans.
Yeah, especially in like the 1500s or 1600s.
No, like today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like their benefits are incredible. Mandatory time off, and they also make really good beer. So.
Well, since you made that segue, I'll just go ahead and do it unnaturally and say that, yeah, we have a little game that I'm going to test John and David on.
I'm personally very excited about this experiment.
It's a blind Oktoberfest tasting. We have different...
we have so much Oktoberfest that we're going to be blind by the time that we are finished with it.
We have different Louisville area beers to try. We have a little shadow box with in classic John Renane style with some piping coming out of it because we didn't buy straws. So
quarter-inch ID vinyl transfer tubing, pulled straight out of stock.
You can get it on bluegrasshomebrewsupply.com.
No, they're out now.
we're out of stock now.
Now you're out. But if you want to, we're going to do this obviously, but if you want to see what's going on, again, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/KYCommons. We should just put this up for free so people can just like go straight to the site and see it.
This thing looks strange enough that we have made. We'll clip this and we'll put up a clip on our Patreon for the viewing public.
Yeah,
I like it. It's my peak artistic ability. So
it's like I thought this was a Banksy when it first got here, honestly.
Actually, once we're done drinking, it just explodes. So don't worry.
Wasn't that his like thing that went
so,
to the art museum?
So you all close your eyes.
All right.
And talk amongst yourselves. And let me get this situated here. Open some beers up.
So again, I will edit portions of this. I thought you were doing the eye thing now, so maybe not.
I'm going full
Jordy
Robo.
LaForge.
We don't edit this podcast.
Yeah, well, first for like strange clips.
We've edited it before. This is surprisingly difficult to see. I want to talk about a beer that I had recently at Noble Funk Brewing.
Uh-huh.
It was a caramel macchiato brown ale.
What is caramel macchiato? What is macchiato?
Macchiato is a coffee drink.
Okay.
With, damn it, I think it's evaporated milk. It could be steam milk.
That sounds right.
Pretty sure steam milk's a latte and evaporated milk is not. I'll have to refer to the chart. However, this damn thing was exactly as advertised.
What was the base beer?
I believe it was a brown.
Okay, nice. That sounds good.
But crazy amount of just residual sugar and great caramel and coffee flavor. Could not tell the difference.
They're doing some good pizzas over there too. Every week I see on their social media whatever their like pizza of the week is, and I'm like, oh boy.
Yes, the Noble Hearth.
Yeah.
A Little Bird said that they might be opening a little bit earlier sometime soon.
Nice.
So,
And we just found out about their collaboration with Louisville Beer Week, but we will save that. We can tease it.
No.
All right, we'll save it.
Don't
But they have
ruin
a good collaboration that they're working on with a local brewery that we don't know about because it hasn't been decided yet.
that you can't know about yet. But yeah, every year for Louisville Beer Week, year 5, we're coming into it. But
And hard to believe that we've been doing this for 5 years.
Yeah, so every year, one of the staples that we've been pushing as far as programming has always been a blind collab between two breweries, and the blind being that we randomize it and select it. No, rather the randomizer selects it, and then they kind of just get to experience their own kind of deal and figure it out between two of them.
Can I spill some inner ale trail beef?
I don't think so.
Come on.
I don't know.
Well, we ended up doing the right thing, so I think it's good to share that we're transparent.
No, you can't put that to the universe.
All right, fine.
Yeah, it's
anyway, for patrons only. How's it going over there, Michael?
I see hoses.
If anybody's
these half-inch hoses are really good. They're very stiff and exactly what you need. However, I don't know about the shadow box.
It's pretty shoddy shadow box work.
There's some hose in these house.
Yeah, two tubes, one can.
I will say, just be very careful about actually handling the hose.
Okay.
I'll be nice to the hose.
I'm always careful handling. Yeah.
This shit's gonna spill over pretty quickly if you move anything. Too much.
Deal.
Oh no! I hope it's not mile wide.
So what's happening basically is we have a big cardboard box that David and I cannot see inside of. I think this is a TikTok trend, isn't it?
No, this is a traditional.
It's a life trend.
Japanese.
Okay. Double
shadow
line
box,
tasting. It's a Shinto tradition.
Yes.
2 vinyl tubes have been inserted into each beer can that we can't see, each one of which contains an Oktoberfest that we do not know what it is, but it is made by a local Louisville brewery.
I think so.
And I don't know, how do you want to do this? We taste them all. Do you want to talk about it as we go, or should we just all taste each one and then talk about it? I think we taste and talk.
Taste and talk.
Yeah.
I think one person at this table knows the answer. So
Well, Moeller.
Yeah, I'm not tasting it.
You can taste it.
Well, I'm just excited to split a hose with you.
Yeah, it's 2 tubes, 1 can. This is going to be very. Our faces are going to be very close to each other, sucking out of these 2 tubes at the same time. So this is good Patreon content right here. All right, we're labeling number 1, number 2, presumably, number 3.
We can count.
Well, let's make it official. We get it. You still made it. Well, yeah, okay. Number 4. Number 5. 4. Okay.
I'm writing upside
This
down.
looks like the Zodiac killer, like writing over here. Number 5 and number 6.
Did you know J.R.R. Tolkien wrote many languages before he ever wrote a book?
Ala Quintiento. I just made that up. All right, so we should start with number 5, right? I'm just kidding.
Seems
After
appropriate.
Mueller ordered them.
Can you tell us which 6 beers we might be tasting, and we might take
No.
Because I actually left one out, so that way you wouldn't know.
Oh, okay.
One's an empty straw.
No, but there were more beers, and I left one out. So
Okay, all right.
So the procedure here, I guess, we could make the microphones ambient, and I could just dial it up in editing, so we can just be free to taste.
I think we'll do that.
All right. Number 1.
do not spill this.
Do not spill this. Okay. Okay.
Hold on. Wait for Michael to move.
Okay.
This is a shot.
Primo. All right.
All right,
Number 1. Oktoberfest.
let's try this.
All right, we're gonna have
You're both sipping it at the same time. That's a bold move. Okay, sipping number 1.
Reminds me of college.
Very light. A little malty.
Malty, it's more bitter. I think it's bitter.
A little bit more hop bite coming through.
Yeah.
I have no idea which one that is.
Well, we don't know what any of them are, so
Oh, this is gonna be very difficult.
I think we should just rank them.
Okay.
It's on the lighter scale.
It's on the lighter scale.
Yeah.
It's more festy, and you're right. There's definitely more of like a balancing hop thing kind of coming through.
I have to agree.
Okay. Tube 2.
Oh, I'm dripping out my tube.
No,
By the way-
no spillage.
When like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk own all of us, and it's the year 2053, and we all drink beer out of these
that.
like cryo tubes that get pumped into our house. This is how we're all going to be drinking beer in 30 years, out of tubes with friends
I think
or acquaintances.
yes. This is something that COVID could never afforded us.
Well, 2 tubes. 2 tubes.
Okay. As far as beer 1 goes, out of 10.
One more taste. I'm not mad at it.
It's like a 6.5, 7.
If I was going to write some criticisms of it,
Just pick a number, like 1 through 10.
6.5. For
Okay,
me.
so you just picked exactly what I said.
Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay. I should listen to people when they
It's
talk.
funny that you weren't listening.
No, I wasn't
And
listening
totally-
at all. All right, number 2.
Number 2.
I love that you all just look like you're fucking Lady and the Tramp over there.
Basically.
We are. As long as there's not too much backwash.
So smoother, less hoppy, I think, coming off of number 1.
Festier.
Yeah, I would agree. I get more Vienna malt vibe.
Yeah.
Kind of less caramelization, just kind of more clean and light and bright.
I can
Is this still number 2?
Two.
All right. Don't make those noises when you sip it. Throws me off.
That's my normal. I do that all the time.
Okay.
I'm gonna give that a slightly higher score. This is probably like an 8.
Yeah, I agree. And then not that it's like perceivably like better than number 1, but it seems more to style than me. For a fest beer, maybe. On the lighter side. Yeah. This is gonna win a fucking Emmy. This is content. I'm telling you.
No, this is going great. I love that we're not spilling too much beer, but also kind of a little bit.
I should have done it while I was sipping. Okay, so that one's got a little bit more.
It's a lot of caramel.
A lot darker.
A lot of caramel. But also the flavor is much richer.
That's what I was going to say too.
Sweeter,
It's more
yeah.
of that caramelized, kind of like on the back of your palate.
It lingers for a while.
I think that one might be higher ABV too, perhaps. Just
Number,
because,
you
like,
think number 3 is higher ABV?
well, maybe the alcohol. I feel like the alcohol is coming
Interesting.
up in my throat a little bit. Interesting. Oh, but Michael knows. That's not fair, Michael. Maybe it could be the tube to tubing differential, or that I could be drinking Sadlerly backwash out of that one.
Sorry,
I feel like
drink it
something
all.
wrong just happened, but I'm not exactly sure what.
It's a little. I get a little more bitterness.
I
On the second type.
actually connected them so that way they're just sucking each other's juices out.
This is like some fucking social experiment gone very wrong.
I'm gonna go 7 on that one.
I like that one. I'm gonna go a little lower than the last one.
Try it again.
Just because I think it might be.
It might be more of a 6. I don't know. Like there's something about it.
Your
that-
shadow box needs to be better.
I'm gonna go.
What do you mean? I can't see anything.
I'm gonna go 7 on that one. I think. What'd you give it?
I gave it a 7.
Okay, because it's a little bit more Oktoberfesty than the first one.
I'm trying to figure out what's bad because these are all like not
No, they're all good.
so bad.
Yeah. The something about the tube makes it really sit in your stomach. I don't know if you're experiencing that.
We're halfway done.
Yeah. Number 4, or as is written here, some kind of weird symbol.
That's a 4 I wrote.
All right, getting rid of that tube gas. I'm ready for number 4.
Yeah.
You ready? You got some tube gas to expel?
Yeah.
I can wait. I can wait.
It's deep in the
You're getting tube gas too. I'm glad it's not just me. See, it's weird. It's really weird.
It was funnier when I did.
It was funnier when you did it. Pretty good.
Yeah, way crispy. Way crispy.
Very light.
Yeah.
Hard to find anything to complain about.
Very low hop, but
Very low hop. Very like soft. I would say it's the softest. This again might have something to do with the longer tube.
yeah, that's a sweet, like crispy, crackery deal instead of like a bready type. It's crackery.
I have to say, this one might be my favorite so far.
Interesting.
Does that mean you're giving it a 8.5 or a 9?
I'm thinking about it more like a fest beer than a traditional Oktoberfest, just because it's very light. But I'll give it an 8.5. I think.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Also, we're going to be averaging these scores so that
Yeah.
way when we tally everything up, we're going to figure out the collective
Well,
groups.
Muller,
Oh,
you
don't
can get on
worry.
these tubes too.
We have all decided the same score for everything.
Oh, okay, there you
Really?
So far, yeah.
I haven't been copying you.
No, you've just not been listening to me.
That's true. That's true. All right, number 5.
Oh, these tubes. Wow, it's like a.
Y'all have never looked closer.
Yeah, that is definitely more of Oktoberfest.
More malty, much more Munich-y.
Munich bitterness.
I like that a lot too.
It's bready.
Okay, so this is where it's going to get a little bit tricky because I think I like this more, but that's because
Which one?
number 4, the one we just did. But that's because I know it's more festy. This is more. Scott Hands and I, one of the last conversations we ever had was what makes a great. We were judging beers at the Atrium homebrew thing, and I said that the Oktoberfest that should get the highest score was because I liked it more, and he said you're wrong. You have to go by style guidelines. This is more like what an Oktoberfest should taste like. And
That is what an Oktoberfest is.
yeah.
Like.
So that has to get high ranks just for being on style, even though I think I prefer 4 more personally.
I like 4, but I think 5 is perfect in Oktoberfest world.
You want to go first so I can copy you, or do you want me to go first so I can't copy you?
I think this takes the highest for me. It's going to be
8.75.
It's a 9. Yeah.
Okay, I go 8.75 for me.
8.75.
I'm not copying you.
Okay.
I live my own life. I do my own thing.
I'm
Scott.
I'm going to have a little bit more of the 5.
All right, you're getting there.
Okay, now you're on to the 6, John.
That was number 5 again for me. I think number 6 straw is still 6 tube is still dry. All right, final one.
2 straws, 1 cup.
Yep, that's my favorite. I think it's blended the fest and Oktoberfest right down the middle.
It is kind of right in the middle of 4
Yeah.
and 5. All right, I'm going to go back to number 5 more.
This is the problem with going in order because now I question my ranking on number
Everything
5.
number 1 and number
Sure.
2.
Yeah, I'm gonna knock number 5 down just a hair to a 7.
Number 6 is kind of right in the middle.
I think
It's not as caramelly sweet as number 5. It's got a lighter, brighter malt profile, but it's still very
There's floral to it.
Yeah. So I guess what did I give 5? 8.75. This is such a strange square system. So I'll give number 6 a 9, I guess. Yeah.
doing
Is that
9?
what you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Moeller, you want to sip these tubes?
I don't want to share those tubes.
We'll make
I don't
noises while you
I
sip.
don't want to get my tubes tied.
We'll give you the ASMR.
You don't want to get that exhausted.
Experience.
Yeah.
So
Do you want to take like a random guess though, like what you think? Because like you have an idea of what we have available.
We have an idea.
Granted,
yeah.
I took one out.
Tell us what the 5 are.
All right, I'll tell you what the 5 are.
Oh, those tube burps are something else though.
We've got Mile Wide, Monarch, Goodwood, Gravely, West 6, Fall City.
Oh man, I honestly have no fucking idea.
I have ideas. With this context, I do think number 6 is Kaiser von Schnitzelberg from Monarch Brewing. I also think number 4.
I think number 4 is
Mile
Monarch.
Wide. No,
Wait, you said number 6 is Monarch?
I think number 6 is Monarch.
I think number 4 is Monarch.
Okay. Okay, this is what you think. Number 4.
I think number 2 is West 6.
I think number 4 is West 6.
Ooh, interesting.
David Sadler going back to the tubes and dripping all over the score sheet. But yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. This is how they do it in Munich, right? This is
how they do it on TikTok. I mean, yeah.
yeah.
I haven't had Gravely's. I'm guessing 5 is Goodwood.
I think number 1 perhaps is Highwire. Is that one of them?
I did not give High Wires an option.
Okay. It's dripping all over the score sheet.
Okay. My official guess is number 1 is Gravely.
I think number 1 is Goodwood.
Okay. Well,
Or wait, did I already do Goodwood?
let me get through mine, then you can.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. Are these yours?
Yeah. So I think 1. I think is Gravely.
Wait, write it down so I can remember what you said.
I've got it right now. Hold on.
Okay. Put a G under there for you.
G. I think number 2 is Mile Wide. I think number 3 is West 6. Number 4 is Fall City. Number 5, Goodwood. And number 6, Monarch.
John, would you like to take a guess?
I have no idea, but I think number 1 is Goodwood. Is that what you said?
Nope.
That's what I said. I think number 2 is perhaps West 6th. I think number 3. I don't know. Maybe I'll come back to that. I think number 4 was Monarch. No.
Come on.
No, I don't know. I think number 4 is Fall City. 5, freaking Mile Wide. 6. I have no idea.
Well, you only have 2 options left.
What are they? Goodwood? Or no, I already remember. I don't know. This is too confusing, and all of my previous guesses have been covered up in drips, so I can't see them anymore.
Okay, so you don't have any guesses on 6?
That was my favorite one. I think it might be Fall City.
Any guesses on 3? That's one you said you go back to.
Gravely.
These experiences tend to be incredibly humbling. So
Yeah, I know.
I'm
It's
ready,
like
I'm ready to be completely
impossible.
wrong on all this.
Hey,
impossible.
congrats. You each got 1 correct.
Oh, God damn it. Shit. That's
I-
actually kind of good, I guess.
I'm actually very impressed because it's the one that you were each the most confident in.
Really?
David called out Kaiser von Schnitzelberg from a mile away.
Okay.
at number 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
And John knew immediately that number 2 was West 6.
Okay.
Donka Chain.
Okay.
If you'd like to know, number 1
Yeah.
was Mile Wide.
Okay.
Number 2, West 6. Number 3, Goodwood.
Number 2, West 6. Number 3, Goodwood. Okay.
Number 4, Gravely.
Okay.
Number 5,
Five was
Fall City.
Okay.
Yeah.
6, Monarch.
Wow. That was very fun and very unexpected. If any of the people who listened to this or like what made these beers listen to this, that was incredibly hard. It's like you taste with your brand association first because and to be fair, I think a lot of these were more in the fest beer category and more were in the Oktoberfest category, and we were judging more for Oktoberfest.
I think being that close to John Renane really threw off my palate.
Especially
so.
that was you though. Yeah.
I almost threw in one of these polar seltzers in there, but that we only had 6 places. I didn't want to cause a scene. Congrats, guys. I mean, you just
1 out of 6.
You killed it. Hey.
Okay, I do have one more. If you will both close your eyes and just do one sip and just tell me what you think. It'll take 2 seconds to do.
I played this game in 5th grade.
I promise it's nothing raunchy. Close your eyes.
Okay, fine.
I actually have another close your eyes segment coming up.
I don't like this game.
I don't.
Why didn't y'all tell me how awkward this was?
Welcome to the show. Hey, does anyone know when Hawks is opening?
Keep them closed, hands out, and just let's see what this tastes like.
Pilsner or
This is
Kel?
yours, Michael.
When I can, is this a can of
Just
beer?
have to taste it. It's Oktoberfest. We just have to see how it is. And if it's good or if it's bad. You can't look at it first. I'm going to do it too.
It's a 12-ounce can.
12-ounce can. Is it good or is it bad?
I smells it.
That's pretty good whistling, Michael. That's actually very good whistling.
All right, can I sip this now?
Mhm.
I just have to say if it's good or bad.
Yep. If is it a good Oktoberfest, how does it rank in the rankings?
That's middle of the pack.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, everything I say is fine.
It's Brewdog. It was at the store. So, yeah. I just wanted to know how it was. I didn't know either.
It's fine.
This is the first. It was middle of the pack.
Did you all know that Brewdog actually came out with a Lord of the Rings beer? It's called Fellowship IPA.
Yeah, I saw that. And I was wondering how it's legal or if they just don't care.
No, it's a branded
They licensed
partnership.
it?
Yeah,
With who? Amazon? Or with like
Yeah,
the
with
freaking Tolkien family?
probably either that or Peter Jackson, or because like it's branded Lord of the Rings like in the font. So whatever rights that they have. Have you been watching that show, Lou?
They
Yeah.
might have talked to the elves of Arendelle and gotten their explicit
Oh,
Fuck, David.
that's
Damn,
right,
dude. Deep
I
knowledge.
forgot that David all of a sudden has been watching Lord of the Rings, like all of them, for the first time.
You know, the only thing that would make this conversation about Lord of the Rings taste better and these beers taste better. Do you guys want to talk a little bit about Lord of the Rings?
permission. We already were.
So, okay, let me bust out. Close your eyes one more time. Lord of the Rings props.
Lord of the Rings props.
Props?
Can't I just like?
You can drink your something done. You can drink it by the flagon, but the only brew for the brave.
Oh my God! I open my
Green
eyes.
Dragon. So if we're gonna talk about Lord of the Rings, I got us all. These are actually the Prancing Pony. They actually make some Green Dragon.
This, my friend,
Is this
a
from
pint.
Harry Potter?
Wait, it comes in pints.
It comes in pints.
I'm getting one.
Yeah, just watched all 3 extended editions of
my
the
God.
original trilogy.
Well, I do love like this part wasn't really planned. It was just.
Now, do you want to be Gandalf or the?
Is this a Galadriel wig?
Hey guys, John here. Despite my usual philosophy of not editing this podcast at all, I have clipped out the bit of us rustling cellophane to open the Lord of the Rings packages that I bought online to make us wear during the discussion of the television show. This part came out so ridiculous that we have clipped it and put it as a free video on our Patreon. So if you guys want to see Moeller wearing this Galadriel wig, there's a link right down below in the description that'll take you over there for the free video segment of this week's podcast. Thank you all, as always, for listening. Now back to the show.
So, have you guys been watching that new Lord of the Rings show?
I watched the old one, but the new one's cool too.
So, for those of you who don't know, we'll make this spoiler free or spoiler light.
The elves are black and people are mad.
Yeah. Okay, so if we wanted to start there,
No.
No, we're not going to start there.
Okay, wait
No,
a second.
that was a statement, not
Let's
a
start here. So,
opening.
David Satterley, you just watched the original Lord of the Rings trilogy for the first time.
Yes, I watched the trilogy of the Third Age.
Did you like it?
I absolutely loved it, and I really can't comprehend why people like Game of Thrones after watching this, because not only
It's not the same thing. It's
was
different.
12 and a half hours extremely succinct for the plot line that was going on. There were no loose ends. It was kind of all tied up. There was history. There was lore. It seemed extremely well produced for 2001 through 2003.
For like no money too. Peter Jackson did that on like a shoestring.
Yeah.
It was all
And,
filmed
like-
at once,
yeah,
by the way.
yeah,
So it
but-
wasn't
yeah.
even 2001 through 2003. It was filmed in like 1999.
Yeah, I mean, just the sheer amount of like one thing I really don't like with movies today is just the lean on CGI, like incredibly
You don't mean like it's lean on CGI. You mean like they're leaning on CGI.
leaning on CGI. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this whole series definitely had about 1 million pieces in it that were CGI, but they didn't feel extremely CGI. It didn't feel like green screen. It felt like they were just acting and like getting it done.
Well, they also, Peter Jackson relied heavily and like redefined in some way, like those great he made it like a freaking horror movie from like the Jurassic Park era. Like
So the reason
practical effects.
So the reason I had never seen it, right? So in 2001, I was, I guess 2001 I was 8
Mueller
years.
found the ears.
I was 8 years old, so I went to see the original Fellowship of the Ring. Turns out that movie is fucking terrifying for a first grader.
Well, Bilbo,
Yeah.
when he's like,
Oh yeah, dude, when he turns into like a little mini Schmeagle.
Well, and then the riot-
Lord, the ring race.
the ring race come in, and you're just like, no. So I'm like 90% sure I spent the rest of the movie with my eyes closed because
Fuck yeah,
my
dude.
grandma did not want to leave because she liked the movie.
Yeah.
But she was like, stop bitching. Like, just don't watch it if you don't want to. So I didn't.
I really respect that he did make it. I
And then
rewatched it again.
I've repressed
recently.
that for 20 years. And now I watched it. It's great. I'll watch it again. I'll probably watch it tomorrow. It'll be great. It'll be the best there ever was.
So then the Hobbit movies came out, and spoiler for David, have you ever read The Hobbit?
No, it's like 800 pages.
No, it's not. The Hobbit is
It's like 100 pages.
It's like a 3-hour read tops.
it's easy.
Yeah, there's a really good audiobook too out on Audible. The Hobbit is a great book. The movies, I don't know if you guys agree, but I thought they were garbage.
I
Like,
recently
hot garbage.
rewatched the first one like in the last week because I was reminded that the first Hobbit movie wasn't that bad.
No, the first one was okay.
The other two are complete hot garbage and they don't deserve the name.
Yeah. Because they
Tolkien.
did that thing David was talking about where it was all leaning on CGI, and then in lack of like a plot, they just dragged out things that never get resolved. They just created all these elements that went nowhere. Nothing had anything to do with anything. It was like very much a production studio gone wrong.
Yeah.
Enter. Any more thoughts there?
I was just gonna say that I can't believe that this is all happening right now. I mean, we're just wearing these like costumes. Like we actually wore the costumes long enough to forget that we were wearing costumes.
Yeah. Does the beer taste better out of these Prancing Pony mugs? The blessing that Gandalf gave to Barlaam Butterbur, the owner of the Prancing Pony,
I thought this was a Harry Potter reference.
was may your ales be laid under a enchantment of surpassing excellence for the next like 7 generations or something. So everything should taste better out of a Prancing Pony mug. All right, so the Hobbit movies were done, and then a decade later, however the hell long
People
it was,
are aware of what's going on in culture right now. Like they like people. There's Lord of the Rings show on. It has to
we
do with
heard
the
that
second
this
age.
new show is coming out on
Yeah,
Amazon.
it's good. It's four episodes in. It's very good.
We heard there was a lot of like hubbub, like everybody had an opinion. They cast it multiculturally,
how
which
dare
people
them.
were like in support of or angry about. But really, all we want to talk about so far is the production. Is that wig pretty pretty swarmy?
Oh, it's so hot.
Yeah, I can imagine like all that polyester. And I could have a list a mile long to like nitpick and critique the current Amazon show, but by and large, I am on team Bezos at this point, which is something I've never publicly like thought that I would want to say. Based on how bad The Hobbit was, my expectations were like below zero. I think that while a lot of the writing is very cheesy, I think that they're tying into themes in a good way. And while a lot of people do compare it, like David said, to like Game of Thrones or whatever, there's like the House of Dragons or whatever. Have you been watching that?
Yeah, no, I have. So I was gonna say both of those are on right now at the same time. I think both are like 4 episodes in or so. I think I watched the House of Dragons episode first, and then Lord of the Rings, and obviously both very similar in the concept. It's medieval type characters and sword fighting and like just far away place and knights and epic. Yeah, it's epic tales. They're completely different tones.
Yeah.
Even though the Lord of the Rings show is pretty damn dark, with the coming of Sauron and everything.
It's more like mythologically dark, whereas like Game of Thrones is always just more like
it's heavy topics.
Yeah.
And that being said, like watching them back to back, like I am now every week, it is a tough show. The Game of Thrones House of Dragon is tough to watch right after watching a new episode of Lord of the Rings.
Is there more or less incest? Or
So there's more. I mean, yeah, it gets kind of dicey up in the House of Dragon, up in, they're talking all Valerian and everything or whatever.
And here's what I'll make a strong statement in favor of. And I actually am not a hater of the George R.R. Martin verse or whatever, but it's not the same. It's not supposed to be the same thing. Like Game of Thrones is a response to Lord of the Rings in many ways. And that he was trying to make it more like based on actual humans and like the gritty, dirty day-to-day life.
It's a gritty reboot of Lord of the Rings.
That's kind of what I'm saying.
It's fine. I mean, they're
Both
both
are
really
good.
good. Books are great. I actually really like the Game of Thrones books, but we're not here to talk about books. We're here to talk about fucking beers. We're not nerds. So go out and buy a Fellowship IPA from BrewDog.
That's the whole point of this segment.
I actually don't, because I don't really
please
care
don't.
about BrewDog.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's not actually that good.
Go buy a Prancing Pony or Green Dragon mug on the internet. Take it to your local craft brewery and say, it comes in pints?
John, you already had that entire segment as a plug, so we're going to count that. David, do you have anything to plug?
I think the most exciting thing that I can plug coming up is just Louisville Beer Week. I mean, getting kicked off for the 5th year in a row. This is a great thing that we've been doing for 5 years. It seems like it's bigger and better than ever. We're kicking it off this year with the festival at German American Club, which if you've never been there, incredible venue, tons of space, great food, awesome people, and incredible beer. So hope to see all your favorite local breweries there. Throughout the week, we'll be hosting a couple events, a couple panels that we always do. There's going to be the Women in Beer panel that we have partnered with Pink Boots Society this year to kind of host and put that on. It'll be at Logan Street Market, and I can't wait for that. And this year we're introducing a new panel, calling it From Stave to Glass, where we intend to have many different people in the barrel world come in and talk a little bit about how wood affects beer, beverages, spirits, things that we all love to drink.
Yeah.
And shine a little light on that. So keep your ears peeled for some details on those 2 events and the festival for itself. But yeah, we're rolling strong into this one. I feel really good about it.
Going to be really fun. Really looking forward to it. On my end, a while back we had Jessica on, and she brought in the new release of Hidden
Jessica
Barn.
Atkins.
Yep. Jessica Atkins' new Hidden Barn bourbon from Jackie Zykin in 5280 out in Colorado, and the folks at Neely Family Distillery. Over the weekend, I got to try a new expression of that bourbon. It was finished in Madeira casks.
Ooh.
Shout out to that product, because that was one of the best damn whiskeys I've had in recency. I think there's a limited supply going out into the market, but a little insider knowledge, Mile Wide here in Louisville got those barrels, those Madeira barrels. So they're going to age some, believe, base beer Uncle Disheveled in those barrels.
What does Madeira taste like?
Vanillin.
I need to try just
Sure, we'll say that, Vanillin.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, that was a really, really great bottle. And I was happy to buy it and sample it at the Kentucky Bourbon Festival, which you've never been to. Also, shout out to Kentucky Bourbon Festival. And with that, I'm going to continue drinking my seltzers, and you all keep drinking your Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next week.
I'm going to put my Lord of the Rings costume back on. You guys thinking maybe do that, hang out for a couple hours, watch the next episode?
I think we probably could.
Okay.